everyone, it's Pat here from Scribner Art and Design. So today I'm going to show you the continuation of that commission piece that I started last week. So it's the abstracted landscape. That's a diptych, so two pieces, and they're stacked one on top of the other. So I'm going to continue on with the layers and build it up and make some revisions, and we'll see how it goes. So let's get started. I'll see you on the other side. Just going in and changing that particular branch, making it a little more significant, and continuing on to add a little bit more depth to my tree and add another branch in over here. I am using dioxazine purple as my dark, so it may look black on the screen, but it's actually not. I'm going to continue working, building up some richness in my underpainting here by adding more cadmium red. So I like to keep building up on my layers to give them a lot of depth, but also leaving some of the understory and history to show through. This is what gives a lot of depth to the painting and can build up a more tactile surface. I like working on canvas, but I don't particularly enjoy seeing the texture of the canvas. It always, to me, looks like the paint is skimpy. So I do like using lots of paint and building up lots of layers. I also put gel medium in my paint to give it more open time. It allows me to blend better and to be able to scrape into it and make some marks. I like to try and use up all the paint on my brush rather than cleaning it off in water, but if I do have extra paint, I usually offload it on a piece of paper. That will become the start of a new painting, and it gives me something to respond to a messy underpainting. This is where many of my paintings start from. Now you see me putting in a lighter value on the sky, and I'm using the color shaper brush here just to eliminate brush strokes. I often like a very flat surface, not having any brush strokes. It's good to have variety in your strokes and also in the texture you create from the tools you apply your paint with. So I do like the color shaper just for that purpose. It comes in different dimensions. So this is a mid-size, about 1.5 inches. I also have a very large color shaper, about 3 inches. So in the smaller areas, I have to switch up to a brush just to have a little more control. Just going to try and blend this out quickly, and I will fill in this area as well with the lighter color. Value is a huge thing in painting, and so often we stay in the mid-range of values. It's where it's most comfortable for us, especially when we're working close to our painting. A good way to check your values is to take a photo with your phone and turn it into grayscale, or there's several apps you could use as well. This will ensure that you have a wide range of values and you're not just sitting in the midtones. Before the phones, we used to use a piece of red transparency to look through, and that would show you the values. So I'm letting go of some of this dark on the side just so that my vertical element is stronger and really pops out. So contrast is another thing that you're looking for in your work, and this can be contrast, of course, in color and value, but also contrast in size of shapes is very important. Contrast of texture from flat to more tactile texture. It's really important to have variety to keep your work interesting for the viewer. Trying to keep the two paintings connected as well is a consideration when you're doing a diptych or a triptych, that there's a continuum. I've juried shows where it's been indicated that it was a diptych and there is no relationship between the two paintings. So in my mind, these do not qualify as a diptych. Bringing in some of the teal, cobalt teal. This is one of my signature colors, and I use this straight from the tube. One of the colors I definitely don't try making my own, although you can probably come up with something close. I just find it easier because I use this color so much to have the tube of it. Generally, I keep my palette fairly simple with just using primary colors and mixing. Mixing color is so important, especially if you want your paintings to be cohesive feeling. All your colors will work together. Now I've made a green. Again, I've mixed this up. I generally don't use pre-mixed greens. With one exception, I do like the gold green from Golden Artist Colors. I find that a nice mix ready to go. But with that being said, I can make something pretty close to that myself, just with my colors I have in my toolkit. I really encourage you to take the time to learn to mix your colors so that you do get a more cohesive painting in the end, and you see color a lot better when you learn to mix. So I'm definitely a colorist at heart, and I've always worked with color in one way or another, even before I came to painting, working with it in design work and fabric, in floral design, all the colors and textures of flowers. So I think I really got a handle on color well before I started painting, and it's one of those transferable techniques from other parts of your life that you can bring into your work, and that's so valuable if you have some of those skills. I'm just going to make my shape here bigger, and I'm using my yellow, preferred yellow, which is acrylic yellow. And I have various yellows in my toolbox because you need them in order to mix good greens. But when it comes to using pre-mixed yellow ready to go, I do prefer this acrylic yellow. Again, working through the whole painting and bringing some of that warmer green in areas, building up those layers. And that's the other thing. I am a layerist as well. I love to have that tactile, interesting surface that has lots of history. And don't wipe your paint off if something's wrong. Just keep working over it, because you never know if some of those little bits that peek through really enhance what you're doing. Scraping with the wedge tool, just flattening it out and blending it a bit. I find working with a scraper allows me to keep pretty loose and get a lot of paint applied in a short amount of time. Coming back into the top part of my painting now, adding some color over my colors and letting some of it peek through. Again, working through both pieces, trying to keep them unified as I go. I'm using a bamboo skewer here. It's one of my favorite ways of scratching marks back in, and I do like scratching and scribbling just to give some movement of the paint and to make some marks in amongst the wet paint. So for this, the paint does have to be wet with acrylic, and you have to do it fairly soon into the process. I like to use the gel medium to keep the paint open longer. You could also try open acrylics as well if you want to work more wet into wet and keep your paint open for a longer period of time. They are useful. Again, linking these two panels together by painting over that line and just keeping it flowing. Yellow paint can tend to be a bit transparent, so often you have to use a few layers to get that depth of color. Using a tiny brush, which I don't use very often, but just bringing in a few smaller lines here that would represent maybe some little off branches, some twig type branches. So I think I'm going to leave it here for today, and it's not yet finished, but we'll do that next time. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel and giving that bell a tap so that you get notifications when I put up new videos. Next week, I'm going to be sharing with you the third episode of this diptych, and you'll see how it resolves and the buildup of all the layers. Thanks for watching. Stay healthy and creative. Bye.